Jolly good show, Major.
Touchdown, Seahawks!
What's going on, Seahawk fans, 12s, YouTube, listeners everywhere? This is Rob English, your SoCal Seahawk, coming at you with another edition of Going the Distance. And we are going to wrap up Week 15 and talk about what happened today. It was a good day for the Seattle Seahawks. Another win. Another week, another game, another team, another win. We did clinch a playoff spot today, so it's good news. Another great play by the Seahawks team as a whole, and things are looking good. So we'll go ahead and go over the details of today's game and what today's game means moving through the rest of the season, and how we're looking. So firstly, it has to be said that just there was a complete game played today. We fired on all cylinders yet again, with the exception of the first drive. It's really splitting hairs and having to get nitpicky to even bring this up, because the game went our way. It went so our way. The game went our way. There was very little resistance from the Cleveland Browns the entire game, with the exception of the first drive. Seattle did allow Cleveland to go down the field. Johnny Manziel was on time with his throws. He was quick. He was elusive. He did all the things that Johnny Manziel does. He made some good tosses down the field. There was they played. It actually looked like Cleveland might be able to make this a game. If you went and judged it by the first drive in the very beginning, on offense, but on defense, one thing I did notice is the first defensive series for Cleveland. They surprised me with a stop they made. We threw a goal line or a throw into the end zone. I think it was for Cooper Helfet. It was played well by Cleveland. It was a play that we run often in either short yardage or goal line situations, where we go play action to one side and then come back to the other, and the intended receiver either comes from across the line of from across from the other side of the field, the other side of the line of scrimmage, or he might even be on the same side as where he's going to go. But the play goes one direction, he goes the opposite, and after the play action, Russell Wilson finds the guy wide open usually. The first time we ran that play, Cleveland was right on it. It was going to Helfet, and Helfet wasn't able to make that catch. It was knocked down. Matter of fact, that play was, if I remember correctly, was dangerously close to possibly being picked off. Now we ran that same play or a similar play later on in the game to Doug Baldwin, and it worked like it always works. It seemed that whatever plan Cleveland went into the game with, wasn't enough to last 4 quarters. But their first drive, offensively and defensively, was actually not that bad. The big question mark today, going into today's game, was the running game and what was going to be able to be done with our patchwork running back by committee situation. And I was delighted, as most 12s and Seahawk fans were absolutely delighted to see that the running game looked like it never even skipped a beat. Like it went off without a hitch. As a team, we ran for over 180 yards on the ground, 182 yards to be exact. Christine Michael leading the way. He had 84 yards on 16 carries. Bryce Brown put in his 2 cents. He had 43 yards on 9 carries, and Derek Coleman only got 10 yards on his 5 carries. Derek Coleman actually started the game. I had said in my short yardage show that I figured that Christine Michael would actually get the start, but it didn't necessarily mean that he would actually get the bulk of the carries. And it kind of went the opposite. Derek Coleman got the start. I believe Derek Coleman probably would have an opportunity to do better from the tailback spot if he had gotten more carries. Early in the game, you're looking for the run, and Derek Coleman wasn't able to ever get off really, but Christine Michael did come in, and Christine had a great game. So it looks like at least he's fallen right back into place. And he was having, production just like today's production, even before he left. So, that was good to see. Fred Jackson, he didn't actually carry the ball today, but he had a couple of nice, catches out of the backfield. Fred Jackson is just on time. Fred Jackson is literally just there wherever we need him to be, when we need him to be there. And one of his catches today was nice. He had stuck his paw up there. I guess kind of called a little paw, but he stuck his hand up there, made a one-handed grab. That was pretty nice. I don't typically like it when players only use one hand when they have the ability to use two, but when it works, and it's, never a problem when it works. But a lot of times you see guys that, see an easy ball come in their way and they just put one hand up because apparently it must give them some advantage, balance wise or something to that effect. And, they put that one hand up to catch the easy pass and they drop it. And it's like, why didn't you just use two hands? Fred Jackson continues to contribute, when and where he's necessary. Another, just all but perfect performance from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, he just doesn't know how to not play good right now. It's what it's seeming to be. He can do no wrong. Russell Wilson can do no wrong right now. Russell Wilson was 21 for 30 today. 249 yards and 3 touchdowns. No interceptions again. Now he almost broke that streak. Late in the game, we tried to get one in there. I can't remember. I think he might have been going to Lockett. Tried to force one in on a quick throw. Typical read. And it almost got jumped. Matter of fact, it got jumped. It just, it was fortunate that, God, who was it? I want to say it was Tramon Williams. Couldn't get a good enough grip on the ball to actually, hit his hands and actually catch it and bring it in. But dangerously close to breaking the streak that Russell Wilson's, been on here. I mean, the last 4 games between him and Doug Baldwin have just been amazing. Just amazing. Tramon Williams, it's funny because, Tramon Williams is actually the same, player, who was with Green Bay when Jermaine Kearse caught the ball for the game-winning touchdown. That was over Tramon Williams. So that was, funny that Tramon Williams was back at the clink, again. He probably has, bad nightmares and memories about that game. His Green Bay Packers at the time fought so hard and played so well, especially on defense, to, have Seattle down 16 points, and just for them to let it all go and for it all to culminate with Tramon Williams getting beat deep, by, Jermaine Kearse for the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Well, things didn't work out much better for Tramon Williams today and his new team, the Cleveland Browns. Jermaine Kearse actually, again, Jermaine Kearse, he was 7 catches. He was targeted 8 times, had 7 catches. He had 1 drop. And it's funny actually when I was watching the game and I was just commenting during the game about how Jermaine Kearse, was, how he was playing so good, playing so consistent. I mentioned in my previous show that I had actually tweeted him 2 weeks ago, that I felt that he had a good game coming up. And then he had last week's game, which was a good game. And then he goes out this week and does it again. So I was just mentioning that to a friend of mine, and no sooner than I got the words out of my mouth, he drops a pass. But, either way, still a great performance by Chop Chop. Tyler Lockett, 7 targets, 5 catches, 55 yards and a touch. He continues to, just be all that we've asked and then some. I don't know that he's, has, the numbers necessary to be considered in that, rookie of the year conversation, but, he's definitely, if he's going to have a Seahawks rookie of the year, he's definitely, would definitely be that. And then our boy, Doug Baldwin, again, another, great day for him. 6 targets, 4 catches, relatively small yard total, 45 yards, but the 2 touchdowns. He's now tied. Doug Baldwin is tied for first in the NFL with 13 touchdowns, and he's got over 900 yards receiving. 900 yards receiving for Doug Baldwin. So it's quite likely, it's especially if things just continue the way they're going right now, there's a good chance right now that Doug Baldwin is going to become the first Seattle Seahawk receiver to hit 1,000 yards on the year since Bobby Ingram did it back in 2007. That's huge. That's huge for a team that is, is a run first team. We've never needed to have 1,000-yard receivers for success. That just wasn't our MO. It wouldn't matter. I tell people all the time, they want to argue the Seahawks aren't going to do this and aren't going to do that because they don't have receivers. And I say, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter what receiver you put a Seahawk jersey on. He's not going to get 1,000 yards, typically speaking, because that's not our offense. This is not our offense. It doesn't matter if you went and got T.O. in his prime, Ocho Cinco in his prime, Andre Johnson or Megatron or Jerry Rice. I mean, it doesn't matter who you put out there in the scheme that the Seahawks have had. And it's something we've always had from the days back, from as far back as like Chris Warren. We had Chris Warren and then Ricky Waters, and it was Chris Warren, and then we had, and John L. Williams and Ricky Waters, and Amon Green and all the way to the Sean Alexander days. And, we were never a pass happy team. Pass when we have to, but we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. Okay. So you're not going to come out there and get 1,000 yards. Not very often anyway. But, this year, what's showing that's the real amazing thing about Seattle right now is our ability to change and be malleable and just change with the situation. Our run first philosophy has taken a hit with Marshawn Lynch taking a hit, with him getting injured. And then we found a diamond in the rough with Thomas Rawls, and he gets hurt. Marshawn Lynch, his performance wasn't necessarily very beast mode like even when he was in the game. So we had to kind of stray away from the typical way that we play. And the passing game has been able to supplement, which really is a testament to the preparation, that these players have, from, Monday through Saturday. The practice field is really where things obviously are getting done because everybody knows we want to run the ball. And people think that, people think we're like in Minnesota. You take away Adrian Peterson and they just simply can't win. They want to put us in that box as well. Well, we're not. We don't fit in that box. We're going to beat you. You want to take away the run? Russell Wilson will beat you with the pass. You want to take away the running back run? Russell Wilson might beat you with the run. You want to try to take away the run completely? You want to spy Russell Wilson? We're going to beat you with the pass. There's really just great things out of the Seahawks camp. As a team, everything was dominant. We dominated the clock, 34 and a half minutes to their 25 and a half minutes, which, made in 28 to 15 in first downs, which made for the stats to really be lopsided in our favor. The running game, we doubled their total in rushing yards, and we nearly doubled their production with the pass. So really it was all Seahawks all day, which is great. So with today's win, we do punch our ticket for the playoffs, because again on Thursday night Tampa Bay got just ridden into the ground. This showed they did. For a team that had a chance to make the playoffs, you'd think they would have put up a better fight, but they got destroyed. And then this afternoon, the early game, the New York Giants, played against Carolina. And that game, I was kind of torn in that game. I know I wanted New York to lose. I wanted Carolina to beat New York because I knew it would, we would stamp our ticket for the postseason, with the New York loss. But part of me wanted to see Carolina lose. I'm that kind of fan. I don't want Carolina to go undefeated, and for no other reason than just because I don't want to see them go undefeated. I don't have any real good reason to not want to see them go undefeated, except for just that. I just don't want to see them go undefeated. I'm a hater like that. Sure, I'm still a little salty over the way that we lost to them earlier this season. But even if we hadn't, I don't want them to go undefeated. I didn't want Cincinnati to go undefeated. I didn't want New England to go undefeated. I don't want anybody to go undefeated. I just don't like what connotations that brings along with it. And I just I'm kind of a hater when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm not a hater very, very often. I'm not much of a hater at all, except for when it comes to football. Except for when it comes to football, and especially when it comes to the 49ers. I'll hate on the 49ers whenever and however possible. But the Giants fought back in that game, and that was an amazing game. Literally, Carolina just let New York back into the game, and then Eli tried to give it right back to him. After I think it was a fumble. I believe it was a fumble. We got Eli got the ball, and threw one into the end zone and threw a pick, and they got it back, and then another fumble, and then they got it back and they scored, and the game went into it didn't go into overtime. I think with just a few seconds left, Cam Newton just did his Cam Newton thing, got him down the field. He made a great run for a first down. It was a third and long, or third. Yeah, it was a third. I think it was 3rd and 8, or something long. I don't remember exactly how many yards to gain they needed, but Cam Newton dropped back the pass and waited and waited and waited, ran for it himself, and got the first down. They kicked the field goal. Game over. Proving why he's in the front runner, why he is the front runner for the MVP this season. Did anybody watch that game though? Did you guys see Odell Beckham? And who was he fighting with? Odell Beckham was going back and forth with Josh Norman. Just back and forth. The whole game really, and it was really actually sad because everybody has this idea about Odell Beckham, being a nice kid, and he probably is. but he let Josh Norman get in his head. And I actually shouldn't say, act like, Josh Norman is holier than thou, because they were both going at it. Both guys, legit should have been kicked out of the game. They were both cheap shotting each other, and they were punching, and it was bad. It was really bad, to the point where, they weren't even playing football on a few different plays. It wasn't even football. They were just running out there trying to hit each other. The one thing that, Odell Beckham stepped over the line with, and I don't know if he did this on purpose. He may have just been trying to lay a hit on Josh Norman, but when he came, Josh Norman was, heading toward the pile, heading toward the play where the ball actually was, at least appearing to be attempting to play football. And Odell Beckham came and launched with his head, with the crown of his head, and hit Josh Norman in the side of his head. And that was not okay. That was not okay. Both of those guys, were being asses. But when he hit Josh Norman inside the head with his helmet, that was, even if it was an accident, it's an accident that happened because you were being an idiot. And so that doesn't, the fact that it was an accident doesn't justify anything. If you're playing football and you do something on accident, that's one thing. But when you're being an idiot and you do something on accident, you lose any sympathy, right? So Odell Beckham deserves whatever he gets, and I hope he gets the book thrown at him because of what he did there. They both should get fined, but if Odell Beckham gets suspended, I wouldn't even be mad. If they wanted to suspend Odell Beckham, and the Giants aren't even out of the playoff race yet, even though they lost today. If they suspend Odell Beckham, that would serve him right, because he was, he definitely went over the top there, and it's sad. That was a very, very, very poor display, of sportsmanship, and maturity. It was immature. It was bad. I hope that Tom Coughlin and everybody in that organization, makes sure whatever way they do, how they do it, that doesn't happen again with that kid, because he has such an upside to his potential. You don't need him ending up like some guys. But that was really bad. Arizona went up against Philadelphia tonight, and I was, we had already clinched our spot for the playoffs, so I turned my hopes and prayers to maybe being able to possibly sneak into the division again. The game started off okay, and then it just went downhill. The Arizona Cardinals, I have to say, in much as it hurts my tongue and my teeth and my throat and my heart to say it, the Arizona Cardinals are a team cut above the rest. I've been trying to justify saying this and saying that about Arizona. They're not this, they're not that. Sooner or later, this is going to happen. I've said it before in my previous editions of my show, but, they're there. They're there. Carson Palmer just finds a way. They got this young running back who just keeps running the ball. Their defense is playing good. They are who we thought they were. And they're not letting anybody off the hook. They're going in there and they're beating teams down. They just are. And, they're going in to the playoffs strong. Tyrann Mathieu, hurt himself at the very end of the game. Really sad to see. Now, I will allow myself to show just a little bit of sympathy. Well, let me clarify. I never want to see players get hurt, no matter what team they play for. But when you play for my arch nemesis, my team's arch nemesis, or one of my team's, rivals, you don't get a whole lot of sympathy, except for, I have sympathy for Tyrann Mathieu as a man, as a human being, and for his family and all that good stuff. But as far as the Cardinals, you know what they can do with that. And Tyrann Mathieu made an interception late in the game, garbage time. The game was already over. It was that time that was left in the game. It was a foregone conclusion. It was just a formality. You had to play till the clock reads 0. And Tyrann Mathieu picked off a pass, and in his attempt to get his footing, you saw something give. And when you look at the replay, you see his foot kind of slide out from underneath him, and it looks as almost like it might be an ankle. And I actually haven't checked on what the status of that is. I wonder if I can get that information here if I pull it up on Twitter. But it looked like it might have been an ankle, but when you really look at it, it looks like maybe something gave out in his knee, and when that knee gave out, the knee went one way and let his foot go another. So I don't know what's going on with him. And then in the post-game interview, when Carson Palmer was asked about his, he had a little finger injury earlier in the I think it was the fourth quarter. He said he didn't even want to comment about his finger because he was worried about Tyrann Mathieu. So apparently it's something serious. It at least seems like it's something serious. So it looks like it's just a knee injury right now. They're not saying exactly what it is, but the level of discretion they're using regarding the situation sounds like it's something serious. So they might be without their honey badger the rest of the season, which is going to make them a bit more human on the defensive side of the ball. Quite a bit more. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Like I said, it's terrible when people get hurt. I mean, it's football. I talked about the other night, about the concussion thing. But it's terrible in football when people get hurt. These guys are out there doing what they do for a living. And it's bad when players get hurt. But I swear it just hurts so much more as a fan when you see a player get hurt in garbage time. Because garbage time, nothing even really matters anymore. It's almost like if you want to see a ridiculous rule in the NFL, why don't they make up a rule where you can't tackle anymore if the score is, if you're up by more than 3 scores with under 2 minutes left to play, like you're under 90 seconds left to play or something. Maybe they should make a rule about how hard you can hit or what kind of plays you can run. Maybe if there's less than 90 seconds in a game and there's more than 3 scores, then you can only run the ball. No more pass plays. Because, it's, and obviously I'm just joking, but, it's terrible when players get hurt in garbage time. It's the worst because it's like, for what? It's almost like they got hurt in vain. If you're going to get hurt, at least you get hurt, you're selling out for your team for the win, when it actually mattered. But in garbage time, it's like garbage stats. Like, yeah, you rushed for, 200 yards, but, 60 of those yards or 80 of those yards, you got them in garbage time or whatever. It dilutes the feeling of it. When you get hurt, especially hurt bad in garbage time, it just hurts that much more because he didn't even really need to be on the field at that point. The game was over. So that sucks for Tyrann Mathieu. Did anybody hear about, I'm sure everybody did hear about the Miss Universe situation. I know I was busy watching football during Miss Universe, but as I thumbed through my, my Twitter feed, I did catch wind of the Miss Universe pageant that was on. And there was an all-time epic fail by the host, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey I guess at the time where he actually had to announce the winner, Steve Harvey read the wrong name. So you had the top two girls, the last two girls standing on stage with one another, holding each other's hands, looking at each other's faces. The whole thing's weird. Beauty pageants are so weird in a society where we teach women to not, where their looks are not all that makes them. We have these beauty pageants where their looks are all that matters, and they ask them questions too, but that's all. That's whatever. You ask them questions to see what kind of questions how they answer their questions, see how smart they are, and I guess that matters too. But it's a beauty pageant. It's not a smarts pageant. It's a beauty pageant. That's why the hottest one always win. Well, usually anyway. But, and you know what? Before I even continue to the rest of the story, we'll get to the point. So Steve Harvey did a real good job of making himself look real silly tonight. And I'm a huge Steve Harvey fan. Okay, I am definitely, I'm all about Steve Harvey. Definitely a Steve Harvey fan. Original Kings of Comedy is one of my favorite, comedy movies. Hilarious guy. The card is actually pretty funny. The card that he reads off of. He read the first runner-up. The only thing that I can consider, so he read the award to the first, said the winner is Miss Columbia. Miss Columbia was first runner-up. So the only thing that I can figure out in my head is that Steve Harvey, the hilarious man that he is, and he's done a lot of things and he's awesome. But the only thing that I can think of is that Steve Harvey either had a momentary brain fart and lapse in intelligence, or he simply did not. I'll say did not, because I won't say does not. I was going to say does not, but he knows now. But he simply did not know the difference between first and first runner-up. That's hilarious. An all-time epic fail by anybody who's in charge of doing anything in that kind of limelight. In that kind of center stage, forum. The only thing that I can consider is that Steve Harvey really did not know the difference between first and first runner-up. Wow. When he was explaining the mistake, he said that he read the card wrong. He said he read the card wrong. He said the information is right here on the card, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, the card says the answer right here. It was my fault. Got to hand it to him for owning up to it right there on live TV. He probably won't get invited back to host any more beauty pageants, but big up to him for owning up to it. But wow. How do you not know the difference? I mean, because it says it on the card. That means literally, like I said, unless he just brain farted, which is, I suppose, is a possibility. But the card says runner up. It says runner up. How do you look at a card that says runner up and not know what runner? Is runner up not a common, commonly used phrase anymore, or commonly used a term to describe second place. Maybe that's what the problem is. I mean, but Steve Harvey's no spring chicken. He's an old guy. Runner up. He should know what runner up means. He got to know what runner up means. Unbelievable. So Steve Harvey reads the runner-up's name as the winner, and they put the crown on Miss Columbia, and Miss Philippines, her name was Pia something. Miss Philippines, takes her little roses, her second place roses, and walks back to to the rest of the girls and sits there and is coming to terms with the fact that she got second place. And she's not mad. She got second place in Miss Universe. She's the second best girl in the universe. What's she got to be mad about? And then Steve Harvey comes out there right after he says it and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I made a mistake. Miss Columbia, I bet you, what is it? It's 3:20 in the morning, West Coast time right now. And I guarantee you Miss Columbia is probably still drowning in her tears." Unreal. Poor Steve Harvey. The good news is, Steve Harvey might have messed up tonight, but, don't get too mad at Steve Harvey. He did put Romeo and Bullethead through high school. So, he did that. So you can't think about the bad things that he's done. Remember the good things that he's done. He got Romeo and Bullethead through high school. These beauty pageants, I'll get back to what I wanted to say. They're so ridiculous anyway. They're terrible. And they're not terrible because I necessarily hate them. I like them. They're cool, but they seem so contradictory to so many other messages that we send out. Beauty pageants. And then they're not even fair. They actually, and I remember hearing about this a few years ago. I don't know I can't cite the actual person's name or the organization's name, but they wanted to, I'll just call them they, because they are who they are, and what I'm saying is true. You can look it up. They wanted to ban, or they actually did ban, the Philippines from any, I guess, worldwide beauty pageants because they won too much, citing that they had an unfair advantage because apparently when you're talking about a beauty pageant of girls from all over the world, everybody likes the way Filipino girls look. Can't blame them. I like Filipino girls too. But unbelievable. How do you ban contestants from a country because they win? I mean, what kind of message does that send? If you don't believe me, look it up. Just Google it. They instilled a ban against Philippines contestants in pageantry because they had an unfair advantage. There's quotes stating that they don't think it's fair. They want to give the girls from other countries a chance to win the beauty pageant. It's a beauty pageant. In a beauty pageant, the one with the most beauty is supposed to win. With the most beauty amongst the other things that they grade you on. But how do you justify telling someone that they're disqualified because they're too good at what they do? Unreal. When I heard that really upset me. And I've known on this for a couple of years. This happened back in, I believe, 2013 when this was, this got started. And then they threw it out. And apparently they threw it out indefinitely, a year or so later. But, it's in there. It's out there. It's, if you want to look it up, it's true. They literally were going to ban the Filipino girls from competing because they're too hot in a beauty pageant. countries of the world, send us your prettiest, right? Send us your prettiest girls for our worldwide or universe-wide or whatever wide beauty pageant. Send us your prettiest and we're going to pick the prettiest one. But not you, Philippines. Another quote, I think the other part of the quote was, we already know how pretty the girls in the Philippines are. Let's let somebody else be pretty, basically. Unreal. Hypocrisy in beauty pageants. But I still watch them. I don't necessarily hate them. I just, I have to call BS when I see BS, and that's BS to me. It's completely contradictory to the message that we send out at any other time. I have more respect for the Victoria's Secret fashion show than I do for these beauty pageants. But that's just me. So the Seattle Seahawks have clinched a playoff berth for the 5th time in 6 years under Pete Carroll. 5 out of 6 years. The first year Pete Carroll was there, we get to the playoffs. The second year we miss it. Both years 7 and 9, and we've been to the playoffs every year since then. If that doesn't say anything about the situation that we have upstairs in the Seahawk organization, I don't know what does. Pete Carroll, John Schneider, continue to make things work. Personnel decisions, game plan, between Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevel, on offense anyway. A new defensive coordinator in Chris Richard. And, there was a little bit of hiccup in the defense earlier this year, but it comes together when it has to. And we're playing our best football right now. 5 out of 6 years. Right now, he's doing better than Mike Holmgren ever did. I mean, his percentage is better than Mike Holmgren. And he's got more Super Bowl appearances. Same amount of wins, but Super Bowl appearances, with the Seahawks organization, I mean. And we're doing it without the players that they say that we need to do it. We're doing it. We're doing it without the players that they said that we need to be able to do it. And we're doing it in a way that they said that we couldn't do it. We're doing it without without the way that they said we have to do it to get there. We need Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch is this, Marshawn Lynch is that. And don't get me twisted here. I'm not downplaying Marshawn Lynch, but we needed Marshawn Lynch to do everything we've done. We've needed Marshawn Lynch to do everything we've done. That's just not the case. When Jimmy Graham hurt his knee, that's it. But when Jimmy Graham was playing, we didn't know how to use him. Meanwhile, if you really look at the reality of it, Jimmy Graham's numbers were not too far off of his average numbers. No, Jimmy Graham wasn't having a breakout year in his first year with Seattle, but Jimmy Graham's numbers were not totally off par with his regular numbers. In the peaks and valleys that a career goes through as far as stats in numbers, statistical numbers. He was right in there. He was right in the mix of the high and the low. But, media at large makes things to be things that they're not. The same thing with Mike Pettin and Russell Wilson. The comments Mike Pettin made about Russell Wilson, made it to be something that it wasn't. It has something to do with the players, but it has more to do with the scheme. It has more to do with the guys calling the shots. If anything is a showing of that is Pete Carroll deciding to start Russell Wilson in the first place. It has to do with the guys calling the shots. Yes, the guys in the field have to execute, but if Pete Carroll hadn't started Russell Wilson, we would have either Matt Flynn or Terrell Pryor. Maybe we would have brought Tavares Jackson back sooner, but anybody other than Russell Wilson under center, we don't do any of these things that we're doing. Or maybe we do, I suppose, and with the same logic that I'm using, maybe we do. Maybe Pete Carroll finds a way to make that work, I suppose. It just seems that the way that it's working right now is working so good. How could it work any other way? We came out of today's game fairly healthy. Russell Okung strained his calf muscle. Just when you thought it was safe to think that Russell Okung finally figured out how to stay healthy, he gets hurt again. Our great left tackle, Russell Okung, who, has left us all with a semi-sour taste in our mouth, as the replacement to the great Walter Jones. The great Walter Jones. Russell Okung was the heir apparent, and he was brought in to replace him. He's been good. He's been no Walter Jones, but he's been good. But his injury problems have been his Achilles heel. His injury problems have been his downfall, and it doesn't matter how good you are if you can't stay on the field. It doesnst matter. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not on the field, then you're no good to us. And that's been the issue with Russell Okung. When he's on the field, he is the best blocker, one of the best tackles in football. But he's not on the field a lot. He's been healthy more often than not, though, recently. But now he's hurt his calf. Pete Carroll said he doesn't know the details of the injury just yet. So we'll find out probably tomorrow, or maybe Wednesday, and what the status is there. This week we have the St. Louis Rams coming into town. The Rams made a mess, a ketchup and mustard mess of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that Thursday night game. Those uniforms, those yellow and red, it looked like Heinz was having a ketchup and mustard party on the field. We've already clinched the playoffs. I don't know how Pete Carroll and those guys. I don't know how they're gonna attack the rest of this season. We have to stay healthy for the playoffs, but we're not out of the woods completely yet because we have to maintain this 5th seed. 6th seed makes things hard for us. We want to stick with this 5th seed so we can go ahead and have that game against Washington. I think it's the best way to go about it. We want to go to Washington for the wild card round instead of going to Green Bay. So if we can lock up the 5th seed, which we can do, that is possible. If we win, I believe if Seattle wins against St. Louis on Sunday and Minnesota loses to the Giants, if Minnesota loses and Seattle wins on Sunday, we will clinch the 5th spot. So we're looking forward to that, because that means that we can go ahead and play week 16, win this game. If the Giants can, help us out. And the Giants aren't out of it yet. The Giants still have something to play for, even though it's a long shot. They still have something to play for. If they help us out, get this win against Minnesota on Sunday, we'll lock up the 5 spot. And that means that the Arizona game in week 17 will matter not to us. If we can lock up 5, then we can rest against Arizona. Arizona, I am going to predict that between now and next week, or by the end of next week, we'll know for sure what's going on with the first round, with the home field advantage, because Arizona still has a chance for that right now. But more importantly, Seattle locking up that 5 seed. We win, Minnesota loses. We got that. So I'm a New York Giants fan for the next week or so. The playoff seeding in both sides is quite different. And the AFC, only 2 teams have even clinched a playoff spot. Only 2 teams have even clinched in the AFC side at this point. And in the NFC side, all but 2 teams have clinched their spots. So, 2 very different sides, 2 very different stories on either side of the league. All right, well, that's going to go ahead and do it for this edition of Going the Distance. Stay tuned for this week's episodes or editions of Short Yardage. I'll try to get at least 2 editions of Short Yardage up this week. Talking about whatever the developments are between now and then. And I will see you guys then. This is Rob English, your SoCal Seahawk. Thanks for listening. Go Hawks.